Most people think that their life is shaped by their circumstances, their background, their teachers, their parents, their luck. But this is not entirely true because the real shaping doesn't happen outside, it happens inside through words. The words that were spoken to you and the words that you started speaking to yourself. And the scary part is, you didn't question most of them. You just simply accept them all. Accepted that you're slow, accepted that you're not confident, accepted that maybe you're not made for big things. Not because it was truth, but because it was repeated. And repetition creates belief. Then belief creates identity, and identity then creates your entire life. So the question is not what the world said to you. The question is what you said to yourself after that. Because eventually you become what you tell yourself. Most of the beliefs that you carry about yourself were not created by you, they were given to you. Psychologically, this term is called heterosuggestion, where hetero means external and suggestion means the idea that enter your mind and get accepted without any logical examination. In simple words, heterosuggestions are the words of others that you slowly started believing as your own truth. So when a teacher says that you're intelligent or when someone says that you are slow, they do not just disappear, they stay. And if repeated enough, they stop sounding like opinions and start sounding like facts. To understand this, imagine two children sitting in the same classroom. Both are normal, both have potential, but the one child understands concepts a little faster. So the teacher praises him, gives him attention, calls him smart, but the other child takes more time. He struggles, makes mistakes, and teachers label him slow. Now at that moment, nothing about their actual potential has changed, but something invisible has already planted inside their mind. The first child thinks that he is intelligent, and this belief makes him try more, participate more, and take more risks. But the second child thinks that he is slow, and this belief makes him hesitate, doubt himself, and withdraw. Over the years, the first child improves and the second child falls behind. Not because of their original potential, but because of the beliefs they accepted. The heterosuggestion became their identity. But the story does not end here, because the same mechanism that allowed others to program you can also be used by you to reprogram yourself. And this is called autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is nothing but self-directed mental programming. And it is not about lying to yourself or blindly repeating positive words. It is about intentionally choosing the identity you want your subconscious to accept. Autosuggestion works through a very simple chain. First, you consciously say something to your mind. Then through repetition, it becomes familiar. Familiarity reduces resistance, and then slowly your subconscious starts accepting it because it heard it consistently from its most trusted source, you. Once your subconscious chooses it, it starts adjusting your internal identity, and when your identity shifts, your behavior begins to align with it. You start acting differently, making different decisions, and responding to situations differently. And over time, those new actions produces new results. Now, this is exactly how heterosuggestion shaped you in the first place. The only difference is that back then you were not in the control of the input. But now you're no longer that child. You have the awareness, and that awareness gives you the authority to decide which words deserve to stay and which words deserve to be replaced. So, autosuggestion is how you break this cycle. I call it as the antidote of heterosuggestion. Oh my god, they're so long words. Let's call AS to autosuggestion and HS to heterosuggestion. But it does not work in one day because the old H's were also not built in one day. They were built over years of repetition. AS works the same as well. And this leads to a deeper realization that if the mind can be shaped by suggestions and if AS is nothing but self-given suggestions, then there is something happening all the time, which is even more powerful. Because whether you realize it or not, you are already talking to yourself. Which brings us to the next question. Is autosuggestion or self-talk the same thing? Or is there any difference that changes everything? At first glance, both autosuggestion and self-talk looks the same. Both involve speaking to yourself, both involve the mind listening, and both have the power to shift your identity, to shift how you see yourself. But the real difference between them is not in the words, it's in the intention behind those words. Autosuggestion is deliberate. It is when you consciously decide what you have to say to your subconscious to program it. So it is planned and repeated with purpose. But self-talk, on the other hand, is continuous. It is happening all the time, whether you notice it or not. It is a natural conversation you have with yourself while living your life. So when you make a mistake and say, I'm so careless, or when you face something difficult and say, I can handle this, both are the self-talk. It is not planned, but automatic. It reflects what your subconscious already believe about yourself. This is why every autosuggestion is technically a part of self-talk, but not every self-talk is an autosuggestion. This is why your real goal is not to practice autosuggestion is an isolated exercise, but to transform your everyday talk so that you reach a point where your natural automatic inner voice becomes constructive and not destructive, where you don't have to sit down and repeat powerful statements because powerful statements have become your default setting. So once you understand the power of self-talk, the next question should not be whether it works or not, but the real question should be how to actually implement it in your life. Because self talk is not something that changes you just by understanding it, but it is something that changes you when you practice it. And there are some specific ways through which you can consciously work on your self talk, reshape your identity. And the fifth one is my favorite one. The first way is mirror work. This is one of the most direct form of self-talk because it removes every other form of escape. So when you stand in front of a mirror and looking into your own eyes, you're no longer talking in your head. You're talking to yourself as a person. This creates a different level of consciousness inside your mind. And over time, these repeated conversations start influencing how you see yourself. Second way is real-time self-talk. Now, this is one of the most powerful form of self-talk because it happens in the exact moment when your identity is being tested, when you're afraid, when you're about to quit, when you're facing something uncertain. In those moments, whatever you say to yourself becomes extremely powerful because your subconscious is most sensitive when you are emotionally exposed. If in that moment you tell yourself that you will figure it out, you are interrupting your old pattern of fear, and slowly your mind learns a new way of response. And over time, this becomes your natural way of facing challenges. The third way is third person self talk, which you refer to as authority mode. This is when you address yourself as if you're guiding someone else. For example, Kruti, you can do this. Kruti, you will have to do this. So when you use your own name and give yourself instructions, something shifts internally. You move from being controlled by your emotions to being the one who is in control. Your brain interprets this as authority, and this helps you build internal clarity and discipline. The fourth way is written self-talk, which includes journaling or writing letter to your future self. Because when you write to yourself, you just slow down your thinking. Your words become more intentional, and it creates a permanent record of identity you are building. Writing makes your self-talk visible, and alongside this creates that muscle memory. Now the fifth one is the most fascinating one, and this is my personal favorite as I've already said. This comes from the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. In this book he called it as imaginary cabinet of counsel or imaginary council, something like this. What he did was he created an imaginary council of great personalities such as Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and so on. Every night before sleeping, he would mentally sit with them and discuss his problems. He would imagine their advices, their opinions, their reactions. At first, this was just an imagination, but over time, something remarkable happened. His subconscious mind started generating ideas and solutions on its own because his mind had been trained to think like the personalities he admired. This technique shows that self-talk does not always have to be limited to your current identity. It can also be expanded by mentally associating yourself with the identities you aspire to become. By the way, an announcement that very soon I'm coming up with a series of videos where we will dive deep into each and every chapter of this mind-blowing book Think and Grow Rich and understand how to actually apply it in real life. All of these methods serve one purpose. They help you take control of the voice that is shaping you because believe it or not, your self-talk is already creating your future. The only thing is now you have the opportunity of taking control of what you are feeding your mind. At first, those words were not yours, but now they live inside you. And the truth is that from this point forward, it is your responsibility because now you have a choice. You can either live the same limited identity or you can consciously choose the words that you feed to your mind because your subconscious is listening. Whether you want it or not, it is listening and it is becoming exactly what you tell it to become. So from today, when you speak to it, speak carefully because you are not just speaking words, you're creating a person.